Alright, I think it's just me at the moment, but for anyone who happens to watch this on replay, welcome to the stream. So today I am working on the second section of our hobby house hive build, and as you can see I've made a start. So we kind of got all the pieces down, and I've kind of started making a little bit of sort of variation in terms of like hills, little hills and stuff. And today I'm just going to be adding some rocks and then covering it all with polyfiller. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. But as you can see, it's already kind of taking shape. A few of these pieces aren't actually stuck down, so the habs themselves aren't stuck down over here, because I still haven't quite decided where I want to put them. And then our crashed Aquila lander pieces also aren't stuck down, just because I don't want to get them too messy when I'm putting polyfiller down and everything. So yeah, let's see how we're doing. Joke, kitchen paper on the scenery, how dare you, brother? Looking forward to seeing what you do with it. Do you know what? It is actually kind of surprising what you can do with paper mache. I know obviously there's lots of other sort of techniques you can use when it comes to terrain building, so a lot of people tend to go for foam. And what's it called? Polystyrene, like the polystyrene sheets. But I find that this is quite an effective method, and especially once you get the polyfiller over it and it's dried, and then you stick your PVA and sand on the top of that, it dries really hard, so you don't really need to worry too much. And it also prevents all those little dust particles, which at the moment I don't really want in the studio, especially with the golden throne behind, because it's hell to clean off. It is absolutely hell. Gloom Creature, good evening, Gloom Creature. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. So yeah, we're kind of moving along with it now, which is nice, because we're a step closer to working on the hive wall itself, which obviously is going to be the biggest part of this build. But we just need to get this section out of the way first. And I think this one's going to take less time than the bridge and the dome section did. Because there's not really any massive structures on this one. The only thing that's going to involve a bit of time, I think, is when I've assembled the other habs I want to put on, because obviously I want to get a nice amount of detail on them. But in terms of everything else, it should be pretty straightforward, because we're going to follow the same method as we did in our first section. And we're going to put our sand down, and then I'll base coat it and give it a kind of I don't want to say zenithal, because it's not really zenithal, but I tend to give it like a patchy coat just to make it look a bit more natural. And then we'll just have our dry brushing and our shades and everything, and we're ready to go. So let's get stuck into it. What I'm going to do firstly then is I have a nice selection of real pieces of slate. Again, I do things a little bit differently, because I know that when it comes to building terrain, you want it as light as can be. But to be fair, these pieces aren't that heavy, so using some pieces of slate, which are quite light, are going to help give it that realism. So yeah, I'm going to incorporate a few of these little pieces. I think I've got enough. I don't want to go overboard with it, but I do like the way it looks once they've been added. Gloom Creature, I'm swell, finishing off building my Beastmen Venators for a game tomorrow. Well done, Gloom Creature. Coming on nicely. Have you put a picture in the Discord? I'd like to see how they're progressing. Also, how are we doing with audio today then? If anyone could let me know whether audio is nice and clear, that would be fantastic. But in the meanwhile, I'm going to get sticking some of these rocks down. Essentially what I want to do is just kind of tie them into some of these little hilly mounds, just to make them look a bit more natural. These are still a little bit wet because I applied them only a few hours ago, and obviously it takes a little bit for the water to dry. But sticking these sort of pieces of slate aren't really going to detrimentally affect that. So we will glue a few pieces on while it's drying. Let's go for it. It's also weird at the moment because it's kind of one of those stages where, I'll be honest with you, looking at it through the camera, it looks really ugly at the moment, because you've got all the paper stuck to it, and you've got all the different colours of the sprues and stuff. You've obviously got the colour of the painted Aquila lander, so it looks a little bit ugly. So I'm looking forward to getting past this stage when it all has a nice base coat on it, and then we can start making it look a little bit more pretty, if you can call it that. Gloom Creature audio sounds good to me. That is fantastic. Thank you, Gloom. I appreciate it. Hopefully we're getting the hang of it now. It only took like, I don't know, 30 streams. So I can't promise you this is going to be the most interesting thing to watch, sticking the rocks to it, but it's going to pay off once we get it painted, and when we start dry brushing, it's going to hopefully look the part. Frag-Eye! Hello, Frag-Eye. How are we doing this evening? Gloom Creature, I'll send a photo for sure. Need to write the actual list for the game as well with this gang I'm building. It looks cool. Then making a list around it. That sounds like something I would do, Gloom Creature. That is, well, that's definitely the way I would do it as well if I played. Make it look cool and then build around. Make your list around it. Ba-da-ba. Cool. I'm going to move this. Where am I going to move this? I might just leave this on my lap. So yeah, also kind of going back to what was brought up in stream on, what are we on, Friday? On Wednesday. Again, I apologize. It might have been one of you two actually, but one of you was mentioning how to tie in some shipping containers, just because we're going to feature some in our first section, and obviously to keep that sort of theme going, I've incorporated some in this, but I cut it in half, so it looks like it's been buried in the waste for quite a while. I've only used the one so far, but I'm thinking I might have another one that's fully intact somewhere. But again, I think we're going to get past the painting stage and see whether there's, you know, possibly too much going on, because obviously I don't want to crowd it or overcrowd it. Because miniatures need to move around it. Oh, we have clipping again, but only if you turn to the right and speak. Oh no. Oh no. I still can't tell. I think it must be something to do with it being too close. Because Gloom, surprisingly for our guy, Gloom Creature was not having an issue with his. But let's try that. Maybe that'll do a little bit better. You can all shout at me if it doesn't. Yeah, but only if I turn to the right. There's always something, guys, I swear. So I want to put a few of these on most of the hills, I think. Just because they look really good. I think they make everything look a little bit more natural as the ash wastes are. Did you see that? You didn't just see that on stream. That landed, that landed face down with the no more nails right on my trousers. That would happen, wouldn't it? How's the clipping now, Frag-Eye? Is that any better? I put the mic a little bit more to my right, so hopefully it won't clip as much now. It might be just where I directly speak into it, it sounds a little bit off. So hopefully that should sort it out, but we'll see. Frag-Eye, oh, you're playing with rocks today. I am playing with rocks. I've just got to stick a few of these on just to make it, as I said, look kind of natural. And then from here, we're going to crack out the polyfiller. Hopefully these will be dry enough to get a coat of polyfiller on. And then that's probably all we can do for this evening, to be fair. And then we'll have to come back in with some sand and PVA and just coat it all. Which is probably the piece, or the part I'm looking forward to the most. Yeah, it's better. Awesome. That is what I want to hear, Frag-Eye. That is exactly what I want to hear. So yeah, what I'm hoping to do though is hopefully tomorrow have this undercoated by the end of the day, just because then when we come to do our stream on Sunday, we'll be ready just to crack on with stuff. Because I don't really have much time to work on the project on Sunday. I'm going to have a busy Sunday. So I'd like to get it in a sort of position where we can get it ready to go on Saturday night, and then just sit down on Sunday evening and make some more progress, basically. So yeah, as I said, I'm adding real stones to this. They're not heavy because they're pieces of slate, but they look really convincing because they're obviously real stones. And I can't really be bothered at the moment with like plaster casting stuff. I know if there was going to be lots and lots of stones, I could kind of plaster cast them, and then, you know, that would be better in terms of weight. But again, because there's not going to be too many on this board, it's not really going to affect the weight. A person can still lift this on their own. Well, I'd say most people can lift this on their own. So it's still rather light. I think the heaviest section is probably going to be our hive wall. It's certainly going to be the most unwieldy section, just because it's going to be quite tall. Okay, let's get a few more of these on. So yeah, for at least the first half of this stream, you're going to be watching me stick rocks to this build. This rather ugly looking build. I'm thinking I also might need to break a few of these pieces up, because those are a little bit too big, and they're a bit square as well. But we'll use what we got first. Okay, no more nails. Cool. So Gloom Creature is finishing his Beastman. What are you doing this evening, Frag Guy? Are you on gang duty this evening? Is this playing in the background, or are you doing some hobby? Have you got some hobby time? Use that one. I feel like comparing this build, because we got so much done on the first section, and it looks like, well, I mean, it's pretty much complete, the first section now, to be fair. And it looks much more impressive on camera, especially with the bridge and the dome, compared to this section at the moment. This section at the moment looks like a, I don't know, it looks like a setup on your kitchen table. Fragai, cleaning my room, my hobby room. It's got to be done every once in a while, Fragai. I think we're a bit overdue again here. I was kind of looking around earlier and I'm like, it's getting a little bit out of hand. I kind of quickly tidy it before I do the streams just to make it look like I'm kind of a tidy person, but yeah, it's a little bit messy here. Putting my pile of shame into boxes. It's good. It's worth doing. It's definitely worth doing. There's quite a few of those behind me as well, Frago. The issue I'm having at the moment is because there's so much terrain in this room, when I think of a piece that I need to use for this project, because I didn't really have a method when I put things into the boxes, just because I was trying to make space as quickly as possible. So it kind of involves me rooting around a little bit and cracking out several boxes to find one piece. And that means that when I go to stream, I have to tidy everything away and tuck it behind me under the throne here, just to just to make the space look a little bit more tidy and not like I'm a real mess. That's not messy, Nihilus. It might not look messy, right? Because don't forget, I have set everything up. This is all curated. I am showing you what I want you to see. But if you could see under the camera right now, and sort of all this section under here, you would take those words back. You would absolutely take those words back. Oh, well, there we go. First drop of the stream. Okay. Do you know, I don't think I got quite enough stones. I probably should have picked more up. I was doing my real job the other day, which obviously is not building scenery, and I was picking out some lovely pieces of slate from the earth to use on this project, and I thought I got enough, but I should have spent more time picking out pieces of slate on my lunch break. Frag Guy, send me a picture in the Discord later, I want to see it. Alright, Frag Guy, I'll do it. But I can guarantee it's messy. I feel like it's going to ruin the illusion, Frag Guy. You're going to see what's going on behind the camera and you're going to be like, what? This is all a lie. He's not a tidy streamer. I feel like every time you see people streaming, you get this like... Well, like when you see people streaming video games and stuff, it always looks really tidy. I didn't even turn my candles on. Yeah, but like the way that I work is not really, I'm not really tidy when I work. I do like to tidy up in between projects and stuff, but when I'm going for it, I tend to have like everything out. Oh, I haven't checked the filter. Thank you, Frag Guy. Doing that all the time. Let me just check. I don't think I've missed anyone there, which is good. I got in trouble the other day, right? Because one of my mates joined the stream. One of my good friends joined the stream, and he complained because we went out for dinner the other day, a bunch of us, and he was like, "Oh, I went on your stream the other day," and I said, "Oh, hi, how's it going?" You didn't say anything to me. And I was like, really? Like, surely I would have noticed. And then it must have been because of the chat filter. I must have not had it on, and he said something and it didn't come up. And he was like, why are you ignoring me? Why are you ignoring me on stream? But thank you for that, Frag Guy. I appreciate it. I don't want to miss any comments. I still don't understand why, like, what makes a top comment. Like, obviously, for you green names, your comments always come up. But I do get a lot of the like grey name comments as well, so I don't really know how that filter works. I'm not sure how it's that beneficial, because it's not like I got hundreds of people watching, so surely it should just put all the comments there for me to see. But evidently not. So we're just going to do a few of these hills. I don't want it to be too organised, obviously, just because it's got to look somewhat natural. I'll use one of these big pieces though. Yeah, and then they end up looking really good once you get all the sand around them, and especially once I run the shade through the airbrush, because I'm really, really happy with how our first section looks. I'm especially happy with putting a bit of green into the overall tone of it, just because it makes it look really sickly. And I was kind of umming and ahhing about it at the time. I was like, is this going to look good? Because it was one of the later things I'd done. So I put a bunch of different tones down, and then the green was one of the last ones I'd done. So I was a little bit worried that I could have messed it up, but I feel like it enhanced it, you know? I have no clue either. I know, I don't get it. We had an interesting stream as well on Wednesday, because what is it? You've got the new like gift things. So Burley sent a dog on a beach, and I'm like, what? I don't get it. Why is this a thing now? So apparently it does help the creator, and you get like something from it. But it's just a weird addition, you know. You can just send these little emotes in chat now, which have nothing to do with anything, basically. Hey Toby, this is exciting. We're yeah, so we're making a start, or I've made a start now, as you can see, on section 2 for the Hobby House Hive. This is going to be our sort of ash waste nomad area. I'm still kind of experimenting with things. At the moment we're just getting some little hills down and adding some rocks and making it look a bit like a blasted landscape. And from there, obviously, we're going to base coat everything, got to put our sand down. But for the time being, I'm still kind of experimenting with HAB, so these aren't stuck down yet. And I've got, obviously, a bunch of other ones to use. I might not end up using all of them, because obviously we don't want it to be too crowded, we don't want too much going on. You want, you know, your miniatures to be able to work their way across the board. But we have made a start, Toby. We have absolutely made a start. Faragai, question for all you guys. If you think of normal cars in 40k, what you going for? Why am I stuttering? Why am I stuttering? That is an interesting question, actually, Faragai, and it does kind of make me think, because in some of the like Caiaphas Cain novels, when they're talking about like, you know, you've got air cars and then like street cars and stuff, I kind of imagine them like kind of a Rolls Royce, you know, with the big grille on and slightly gothic looking. You know, that's what I imagine. I don't imagine any of the clean sci-fi stuff. You know, I imagine lots of edges and lots of big grills and lots of ornamentation, because I would also think that the people who have cars are the wealthy, not necessarily your run-of-the-mill civilian. But yeah, that's what I think anyway for a guy. Toby, I'm hoping to see 350,302 habs. Maybe if we build a 2-scale Hive City, Toby, maybe that's what we'll go for. But you did give me plenty of habs. There's like, there's got to be like 5 or 6 habs, I reckon. But for the time being, we're going to see what works. I did want to incorporate the double hab somewhere, so I'm going to have a little think about that. But for the time being, obviously, I can move these out the way, and we can just get our colours on the board. We can get our Xandri dust on there. I can take the lander off, because I don't want it to get, you know, I don't want to spill anything on it, so I've kind of outlined it. But yeah. Sad chairs are flooding in. Luke Power, hello, long time lurker, first time caller. I enjoy these streams more than anything. I like paint tutorials, podcasts discussing 40k and battle reports. But our hobby is arguably a solitary pursuit for the most part. Those times where we are alone in this pursuit, it feels less so when joining the stream. And for that, thank you very well. Thank you. I don't know why I said thank you very much. I think it's because I was about to say to you, thank you very much, Luke. That's very kind of you to say. It's nice to have you. It's nice to have you in chat. I assume, judging by kind of the numbers we get when I do the streams, that some people are watching but don't necessarily partake in the conversation, which is absolutely fine. You know, there's no problem, because I know sometimes when you're hobbying, it's nice to have just something going on in the background. But I appreciate that, Luke. I really do appreciate that. And, you know, in a similar way, it kind of happens to me too. So when I do the streams, obviously, I quite like the sort of social aspect of chatting with you guys, hanging out, just talking about what the plan is. But when I'm not, I do enjoy kind of like the solitary working on things and just almost hyper-focusing in a way. But the streams have kind of provided me with this really nice balance. So in the day, when I'm able to work on the project, I can just go for it. You know, I can listen to some videos in the background and just really focus on what needs to be done. And then on our stream days, I can hang out with you guys and just chat about everything Warhammer and kind of get it all out, you know. But I really appreciate that you are enjoying the streams, Luke. Thank you. Toby, having a great time. You will be. Just got to come up with what colour I want to paint these habs, Toby. At the moment, I'm torn between a green or a red. So I don't know yet. Don't know if you have a preference. For our guy, I would go for 1930 to 1950 cars, I think. I think that's a good shout for our guy. I think that's a really good shout. I imagine that, yeah, and then you've got like the, you know, like the huge engines or something like that, and a bunch of ornamentation, and maybe the odd Aquila here or there. It would be good to maybe have some. I don't know whether there's any 3D prints available or anything like that, but it would be cool to have some. Because it's not something you see at all, is it? Now that you've pointed that out, I'm kind of aware that you don't really see any cars as scenery or depicted anywhere in 40k. Yeah, I mean, so Fragai says, I wouldn't say it's solitary. Best ideas come up if I'm sitting and hobbying with a few of my mates and chatting. That's the thing. I suppose it works differently for different people. And, you know, following that, I would say that I agree with Fragai. Like, when I'm talking to people, like you guys, for example, have provided me with some really good ideas. And then in the same vein, when I'm on my own and I have some time to think about things and like mull it over, I also find that I come up with ideas that end up being quite effective. So yeah, everyone works differently, I suppose, but for me is a bit of a combination. And Frag Eye, I guess, Frag Eye comes up with some good ideas when he sat down with his mates. So yeah. Maybe a mix. I think red takes the dust pigments nicely. I was thinking red. I think I was leaning more towards red, to be fair, Toby. Especially with some of the transfers that I've got for Necromunda, because they're whites and blacks, and yellows for some of the hazards and warning symbols. I feel like they would look really good on red. And then we'd have the combination of probably like lead belcher for all the metal parts, and then red for maybe the sides of the hab, possibly areas on the top of the hab. So yeah, I think that's probably what we'll go with. I think that is probably what we will go with. All right, so let's get some more rocks down. So yeah, it would be nice to be able to get the polyfiller down on this evening, because obviously overnight it'll give it time to dry, which would be really good. And then I can start working on it immediately in the morning, which would be fantastic. Let's see. Just got to decide where I want certain rocks. Again, I probably don't need to overthink it too much, but I have a tendency to do that sometimes. Where did I put that? There we go. Toby, I found a bucket of 30k Mechanicum transfer sheets. If they are of any use, they would be, Toby, absolutely. Any transfers are fantastic because I can use them. So, in fact, funny you bring that up, because this little area here, this might be a bit of a surprise to some of you, because I think with the discussions that we've had about this second section, I didn't really mention anything like this. So this kind of came together a little bit organically today. And the idea was, our habs need to be, well, they don't need to be, but I think it would look cool, whether they, you know, when they are kind of mixed into some existing sort of scenery that's been there for a while. So the idea behind this was having like a part of a manufactorum that was somewhere just outside the city, and it's absolutely hanging on by a thread now. And then sort of building the habs around that, and how the Ash Waste Nomads may have just kind of like tied it into their living situation. And I found that just some of the parts that I had kicking around came together, and yeah, that's what I've gone with. But this should look pretty good when it's painted up. Mostly this is all going to be sort of rust colours. So we're going to follow a similar style to our bridge on section 1, or the kind of makeshift walkways. And then the hab units will give it a sort of pop of colour with the red. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking at the moment. Joke! Good evening, Joke. Welcome to the stream. How are we doing this evening? I am just sat here gluing stones to our second portion of the Ash Wastes. Just to tie it in with our first section and keep the theme similar. And we are slowly but surely getting there. Not sure what the weather's doing tomorrow, but I'm hoping it stays dry. We've started seeing a little bit more rain, at least here in Bristol, over the past few days. And I'm hoping tomorrow it stays somewhat dry, just because once I've applied the sand and the PVA, I want to be able to just give it a coat of Chaos Black. I think it's Chaos Black now. I can never remember what the spray is, whether it's Abaddon Black, Chaos Black. But yeah, give it a coat of that, and then give it some Xandri dust, and we are ready to dry brush and shade, basically. Looking good, Joke. Do you know what, Joke? I'm not sure whether I agree with you. I feel like at the moment, this is the ugly stage before it starts looking pretty. Because you can just see all the different colours of everything. You've got like the grey from the craters, the blue from the Aquila Lander, the grey plastic, the brown plastic, the white, I feel like it looks a little bit ugly at the moment, but once it's got those base coats on, it's going to start looking a lot better. And like I say, the quicker that we get this done, the quicker we can move on to the Hive Wall. And obviously I want to approach that in a timely manner, because that's going to be the section of this build that takes the most time. So I want to be able to leave myself with enough time to do it the justice it needs. Fragai, we had very heavy rain today. Yeah, we've been having it as well, Fragai. It's nice to see some rain though. I'm sure you would agree. Finally, after the drought that feels like it's been lasting, well, has been lasting weeks. Okay. Joke, use your imagination for colours. Well, we are going to have a bunch of different ones, but again, not too overpowering, because the Aquila Lander is already painted up, so I can just tie that in easily enough. So we'll have blue, red, we'll have some browns for the rust and everything, and then obviously we'll have our Xandri dust with the shades. So yeah, I think it'll work quite well. I try to keep the colours somewhat minimal, so it's not too visually overpowering, but it is nice to have like the pops of colour, especially in section 1 where we've got the shipping containers, the green and the white one, and then we've got a bit of yellow from the barricades, some red for the bridge, and I feel like because it's little bits here and there, it ends up working quite well overall, instead of, you know, just one thing kind of domineering it. Okay, let's do a few more of these, and then it's getting there. Some of it's a little bit wet, but I think I can probably just hammer on the polyfill. It's what I done with the first section. It all dries eventually, because that was done with the same method. It was done with paper mache, basically. But once it dries, because it's got all the PVA glue, it's pretty rock hard then. And the polyfiller just gives it that extra level. Then 2 coats of sand and PVA, and yeah, you know, you'd be really hard pressed to break it basically and leave a dent in it. You would have to smash your fist into it to leave a dent, because obviously we want to have it somewhat durable. I know that people aren't going to be manhandling it, but it's nice to know that, because obviously, like, you know, accidents happen and stuff, so it's nice to know that it's going to be somewhat durable. I don't want to bring a table that will break, you know, if you look at it. Oh. Excuse me. Cool. All right. Yes, let's keep going. It's funny. I went up to B&Q today because I was like, before the stream, I want to make sure I got everything I need. I want to make sure I got a new pot polyfiller. I want to make sure I got super glue. And the only thing I forgot, which I'm kind of using a lot of at the moment, is no more nails. So I should have got another one of those, but I find it hard to remember things all the time, I swear. I'm very, very forgetful. For a guy, I've seen a guy on Reddit did the crashed Aquila Lander together so it's less scattered. Yeah, I think it might be the same person. It might be the same person, but I have a guy that I follow on Instagram who does a lot of Necromunda scenery, and he done like a kind of rusty Aquila Lander, and he stuck it all together, and it looked really good. So I'm not adverse to doing that, but I feel the way that I've kind of worked this out is I'm going to leave like a bunch of scorch marks. And I've raised up some of the ground here a little bit. So once I painted it, basically, once I put the base coats down, I'll probably pick out this area with a little bit of black just to make it look like it's kind of come down and it's just exploded everywhere and scorched the ground. So there is a little bit of a method, but I agree with you, Frag Guy, that it does look cool when it's stuck together as well. I feel like when it's stuck together, it looks more like it's been pillaged for scrap pieces, you know? Kind of looks like an old lander that's still somewhat intact, and it's just had pieces pulled off of it to, you know, make huts and things like that. Oh, thank you, Frag. I appreciate that. I do think it's going to look a lot better though once it's got some paint on it, basically. And I've been trying this time around to tie some more details in. So I've put the shipping containers. I've sawed one in half and stuck that down. I've also got like a door from the what's that? What set is it? You know the Space Hulk terrain from the Kill Team stuff? They have some really cool doors and stuff in them. So I cut one of those out, and I've used that, and then I've used a mix of pieces from the HAB units with the antenna on them. Oh, sorry, I'm really bad at the names of the scenery. When I get going, I'm just like, yep, can't remember what that is, can't remember what that is. Glenn, hello Glenn, welcome to the stream. Straight away with a question. What's the first ever miniature that you remember buying with your own money, and which miniature did you really want to buy as a child that you couldn't afford? Oh, Glenn. I feel like I have not a question, I feel like I have an answer off the bat for that one, Glenn, because that is a really good question. When I was a kid, so again, this kind of relates back to why I do what I do, is going to Warhammer World. So when I was a kid, again about 11 years old, I went with my dad to Warhammer World, and I loved it. I had a fantastic day. It was brilliant. I got a little medal. I'd done this kind of, what was it? It's kind of like not a beginner's course, but it was like games for beginners and stuff like that. And they called it like a graduation thing. So I'd done that with a bunch of other people like my age and a bit older, and won this little medal at the end. Got to look at all this amazing scenery, and I got to spend some of my pocket money on a miniature, which was a demolisher, an Imperial Guard demolisher tank. And you know, this was back when you had like the metal pieces that would come with some of the tanks. So the demolisher had your Lehman Russ plastic body, and then you had the metal bits that made the sort of demolisher cannon thing. And that might not have been the first miniature I bought with my own money, but it's certainly the one that I remember the most. I also have it somewhere in my attic in the house, but yeah, that's the one that I sort of remember buying first. Again, it might not have been, but it stuck with me. And in terms of like miniatures that I couldn't afford, I remember looking at the Forge World scenery as a kid and thinking like, this stuff is amazing. But seeing that obviously it was kind of more expensive than your average Games Workshop kits, but I really remember wanting the archway. There was this really fantastic, there was a bunch of pieces for it actually that would make up these kind of bigger buildings. And the piece that I always remember wanting was the archway, which was kind of crumbled at the top. Because I always wanted to create like some kind of big ruined cathedral sort of thing. But you know, never had the money to buy the Forge World scenery. So yeah, that's the one I missed out on. At some point I would like to try and like, you know, get one, I think, and just build something with it, but it's becoming harder to get and way too expensive to get as well. So might have to put that one on the back burner. But yeah, that's the answer to that one, Glenn. I hope that was an unexpected one. I feel like most people would say a Space Marine or something like that, because the other one that a lot of kids my age at the time had was the Space Marine bike, way back when there were £5 for a Space Marine bike. So I feel like for a lot of people that was probably their first miniature. And again, it could have been mine, but the one that sticks with me the most is the Demolisher tank that I got. Got a whole bunch of miniatures from my youth, but I don't keep them here in the studio. I kind of squirreled them away upstairs in my attic just because they've got that sentimental value to them. So I don't think I'll ever particularly like do anything with them, as weird as that might sound. Like, I don't really want to repaint them or anything. Some of them are a little bit battered, but they tell a story. You know, they tell a story to me. I also have, right, this is a well, you might find this interesting, you might find it boring, but the same time, so when I got this little medal thing from Warhammer World, they also gave you, at that time, for Bugman's Bar, they gave you food tokens, and the food tokens were these little metal, like, kind of triangle gelt, kind of thrown gelt, and I didn't want to get rid of mine. I wanted to keep it instead of using it on the food, so I ended up doing that. I'm pretty sure I went hungry, but yeah, I ended up keeping that, and it was a bit of a shame because I sold it by accident. Not too well, probably about 10 years ago. I got rid of all of my Warhammer, and I accidentally left that in my bits box, which I sold. So I was really kind of devastated about that. And a few months ago, I found one on eBay, like a legit one. So I bought it. It cost about £30. It was quite expensive, but I wanted it just as that little kind of keepsake that I remember from going to Warhammer World. And I won't do anything with it. It's just there as a kind of like memento, I guess. But they were really cool. I don't know if they do that anymore at Warhammer World. I've only ever been there once. I'd like to go again soon. It's a bit of a travel from Bristol here in the southwest. It is. It's like a it's about a 3-hour drive, I think, to Nottingham. But I would like to go again, even though I'm sure they don't do that kind of stuff anymore, because this is a long time ago. This is when I was a kid. But I'd still like to see all the dioramas, because I always see them come up on Instagram. People take videos and stuff, and they always look really, really cool. So I'd like to see them firsthand, basically. Right, I think I need a drink now. That was a hell of a lot of yapping. Apologies to all of you. That was like a verbal assault there. Cool. So I think we've nearly got enough stones. And then we'll crack out the polyfiller, depending on how much this stuff stinks. Because I know, like, sometimes it's a little bit overpowering, the smell of polyfiller. I never remember it being that way, but apparently it is now. But yeah, so I might need to open the door to the studio just to air it out a little bit. Joke! Never went to Warhammer World. It's a wish of mine for sure. I don't think it's changed too much. Joke, I think maybe they've got like an exhibition space now and some other stuff. But yeah, it's worth going. You know, I'm sure. Well, actually, I'm sure it probably is different from when I was a kid. But I would recommend it, Joke, if you get the chance. Absolutely. Fragai, haven't ever been there. Would love to go one day. You'll have to do it, Fragai. You have to bring some of your nicely sculpted green stuff miniatures and take a picture of them in the in the main hall. Toby, so I'm hearing a group trip to Warhammer World is go. Absolutely, I would definitely be up for that. Just as a little bit of inspiration as well. Because again, I think the diorama team that they have in Warhammer World are extremely talented individuals. You know, past and present. And it's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today. But the aim, right? The aim is to try and have some fantastic tables inspired by Warhammer World, but at Hobby House. So maybe we'll rival Warhammer World. We get too big for our britches. Fragai, oh yeah, group trip would be fun. Joke. I mean, a group. Yeah, a group trip. See, Toby, you're ahead of me there. A group trip to Hobby House for Sad Chair Fest. Are we going to call it Sad Chair Fest now? An ode to Nihilus at this point are given. Do you know what? We should have Sad Chair Fest, and it should just be a day of scenery. It should be a day of games and scenery. And hopefully we'll have our first Sad Chair Fest day soon. You know, as soon as this project is done, we're going to get it shipped down to Hobby House. And yeah, then we'll be ready to go. Joke, we can stop Hobby House. We can stop at Hobby House too, brother. Want to see some awesome scenery in person? Well, you guys are hopefully going to get to see this in person very, very soon. I'm looking forward to it. obviously I'm especially looking forward to the wall section because, again, like the wall section is going to be the biggest part. You know when you see those grand tables? Hopefully this is going to be one of them. And in fact, on a little bit of a side note here, you'll probably notice I didn't end up using any of those landing pads / missile silos on this section of the build. And the reason is, after our Wednesday sort of hobby hangout, when I was experimenting with some pieces of scenery on the board, I got to thinking, and it just didn't really fit. With everything else, it looked a little bit too crowded, and obviously that's not what we want. We want details, but we want people to be able to move their tanks and miniatures and stuff around the board. So I opted against it, but the good news is you might still see it when we come to our Hive Wall section, because it would tie in very nicely there, and we'd have space for it as well. So yeah, it didn't end up going with that for this section, but for a good reason, you know? For a pretty damn good reason. Glenn, I'd like to go to Warhammer World. I've never been, but I'd love to meet Sad Chair. Well, Glenn, you know what? When we get the dates up for Sad Chair Fest, we'll have to see if any of you guys can make it. I know some of you are further afield than here in the UK, but nonetheless, it would be lovely to meet you guys in person. I know we have our little Discord on the go, which is fantastic. It's kind of a way to keep in touch in between streams. That is a perfect segue for any of you who are watching who are new here. We have a Discord in the video description, so if you want to join our little community and post some pictures of your work, then feel free to. Toby, I had a thought. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Go on, Toby. Or is this one you need to message me personally, or is this one you want to share with the group? Either way, I'm down. You know how much I like silly ideas. I feel like in the scheme of silly ideas, this was probably a silly idea. Like, okay, first build for Hobby House, what are we going to do? Oh, you know, Hive City Walls and Ash Waste. That's a little bit ambitious, isn't it, really? So, here we go. Toby, Hobby House tables are 6x4, but we can join 2 together like we did with the big fantasy city, so there's loads of parts, left. In theory, we could add tables, another table's worth of bits in the, ooh, Toby, we could. The thing is, I can do that in a way that we could continue the city inwards. Obviously, we could do it as 2 projects that could be brought together, but that is definitely a possibility. Because past the Hive Wall, obviously, there's going to be all sorts of habs and, I guess, manufactorum bits and everything. So that is certainly something that could be done. And maybe we could push them together, like the big existing table. What do we call the big existing table, Toby? What is it? Because I feel like I always want to refer to it as Mordheim, but I don't know. I don't know if that's right. What's the name for the big table? What are we going to call it? You can also do a full Hive City. I don't know about that joke. I think that might be pushing it a little bit. I do like my big builds, though. I absolutely love building big pieces of scenery. But I think a full-on Hive City might be a little bit too much. I would like to do inside of a Hive City, though. Like, I could definitely see... Actually, I'm not going to put that one there. I could definitely see something like that happening. And again, as Toby says, it would be excellent for, like, a massive game of, I don't know, 40k, Horus Heresy, maybe even a crazy Necromunda campaign, I don't know. Toby, the city of Valethorn, that's it, Valethorn. All the terrain sets have cool names, that's what I like to hear. Alright, bam, let's just have a little look. I think in terms of stones, we might have enough. I kind of want to break one of these apart, but I don't have a hammer, so I'm worried slightly. Maybe I could crush it with sad chair. Shall we see if that's a possibility? Might go catastrophically wrong. Yeah. That's not working. Sad chair isn't strong enough, unfortunately. Joke would love to see an epic scale Hive City. So epic scale, actually, Joke. Toby, when I was down at Hobby House a while back, Toby was working on a... Was it epic scale, Toby? It was like a smaller city board for... oh, what do they call the system now? Brain is failing me again. The Adeptus Titanicus system, I want to say. But Toby had a really, really cool city on the go. I don't know if there's a picture online, maybe? But I think you would like that, Joke. I think you would really like that. Okay, how am I going to smash these to pieces? I might see if I've got any smaller pieces of stone left over. Bear with me, guys. Because as soon as they are glued down, we can move on to some polyfiller. A few bits in here. A few bits of slate left over. I think that should do it. But yeah, as I say, I always use slate because it's really light, so it's not going to affect really the overall weight of the board. And it looks really good. Need that picture in the Discord, brother. You're going to have to persuade Toby, I think, Joke. You are going to have to persuade him, but I'm sure he'd do it if you asked him nicely. I'm sure he would. Glenn, Nihilus, only question. If you could go on a month-long, all expenses paid tour of any country in the world, excluding Italy. Damn it! Damn it, Glenn! You knew that. You knew what you were doing. Which country would you choose and why? Oh, not Italy. What would I choose? Maybe somewhere, you know, in Scandinavia, possibly, or I've always wanted to go to Norway. Big Brain would love to hear that, but Norway I'd like to go to. I think that could be really cool. Different places in Norway, and yeah, I think Norway. That would be my choice, Glenn. But you know, Italy would be the first choice. We both know that Italy would be the first choice. Fragai, the hive shall be called Tristicella. I thought that was an anagram for a second, Fragai. Why Tristicella? Why not an anagram of sad chair? That's what I thought you were going with for a second there, but then I realised there was no D's. Joke would go to Brazil, apparently. I'm sure that would be nice as well. Okay, cool. Let's stick these little other pieces on. Big Brain gives you a tour. I'm sure he would if I asked him nicely. I'm sure Big Brain would give me a tour. Big Brain is, what was he saying on the other stream? He was saying that he's studying now, so he's not on stream as much anymore because he's actually got studying to do. He has. We might not see him for a little while. Buckshot. Good evening, Buckshot. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. The kind of messy stream at the moment where everything is looking, I don't know, it's looking a bit weird, I think, with all the tissue on it, but you know, it's going to get there. Trust me, it's going to come together. Fragai, that's sad chair in Latin. I should have guessed that, Fragai. Buckshot, thank you for the gifted memberships. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate that. Get some fresh eyes on part 2 of this massive project. Thank you very much, Buckshot. Cool, so we just need to stick down a few more stones, and then we are going to get the palette knife and the polyfiller out. And hopefully it's not going to stink too bad. So yeah, the more I the more I kind of progress with building different types of scenery, the more I realize that I like having a loose plan when it comes to things. Just to give you kind of like a bit of an idea of what you're going for, but in the same vein, I find that a lot of the work that I seem to do is quite, I don't know whether intuitive is the right word, but it comes together quite naturally. So, sorry, I lost my train of thought then, believe it or not. Yeah, so basically like having a loose plan helps, because I feel like things always kind of end up changing, and I don't know, it just seems to be kind of a beneficial way of working for me, not like sticking to a very rigid plan. Because so far it's worked out. I think for section 1, it's come out quite nice, and it just gives us a little bit of leeway. So, for example, having the ruined manufactorum here, I feel like that was the right idea, as opposed to having the silos, just because the silos kind of got in the way. And again, when you're playing on this, you want to be able to have fun. You don't want to just have lots of shit in your way, basically. Toby, poor joke every time. You know what? See, so I was right. I was right. It was sad chair. It's just Latin for sad chair. God damn it. We could call it that, though. We could call it that. Maybe save that name. Let's get a few more of these down. Don't know whether that one's a bit hefty. Got a big piece of slate. Let's use these little ones. So yeah, I'd like to be able to just kind of get going on this in the morning. I have the whole of Saturday to work on this fantastic project. So I want to make the most of the time that I have available to me. And just be able to get some paint on it, really. I remember the feeling of getting the first section kind of base coated, and it really gives me that kind of push, and that almost sort of excitement to see where the project ends up. And it is giving me time to formulate a loose plan for the Hive City, basically. Because one of the things I've got to do when we do our wall section is I've got to have a section of bridge, like our my first section of table, basically. So I've got to have a bridge that comes out of the Hive City gate, basically. So I'm not going to do a massive gate like the big brain gate. We're going to have a bit of a smaller gate for this project, but I've got to make sure that I've got it at the right height, or the same height as the bridge, just so, depending on which way you set up the board, if you choose to have the bridge section in front of the Hive City Wall, it all kind of flows together. Obviously you can mix them around a bit, but I want to make sure that I've got that height right, just so it all, flows, basically. Toby, I think the make 6.5 tiles plan means we could, in theory, have the landing base outpost tile, an inner city tile, and then a hab city tile with a blending part. Very modular, absolutely insane. I think it can be done, Toby. This does have modularity for this ash waste section. Obviously, you're a little bit more limited, just because you can't really put the Hive City walls in the middle. You can mix the ash waste sections around, so you've got quite a few combinations for that. Maybe maybe 4 or 5, just depending on whether you put them side on or straight on. So that can be experimented with. And then in terms of the Hive City walls, if we are planning to do some Hive City behind it, that will have some modularity as well, so you can mix them when we get there, basically. And the good thing is that we could always, if we wanted to, add like a basic section of ash waste. So if we feel that you want a little bit more in terms of variation to mix it up, we could always just add a relatively like plain section of ash wastes. So that is also a possibility as well, basically. See, joke, your grey name there, you only get the basic wooden chair, you don't even get sad chair. You gotta keep referencing that wooden chair. That's not what the chair looks like. That's what it looks like. Look at that. Celebrity, that. I don't think it needs to be super modular. Everyone's gonna love it. Thank you, Toby. I hope so. I hope everyone has fun on it. That's what I want mainly, is you guys to sort of, like I've said before, get immersed in your games and just kind of like forget about real life for a little bit and just get absorbed in Heresy, 40k, Necromunda. Yeah, that's the goal, basically. That is the goal. Excuse me while I drink like a Viking for a second. Okay, cool. Let's do this. So, polyfiller. I'm going to see how stinky this stuff is. It's not too bad. Do you know what? I think... cool. Alright, I know what I've done. The first section of the build, right? When I was applying the polyfiller, I was thinking, why is this stuff, like, it's reeking, it absolutely honks. Like, it's got very, very strong chemical smell. And I was like, I never remember polyfiller smelling like this. And I think it's because, looking at the containers, that one's like the super strength one. Let's see, because it says, well, I can't believe this. I'm such an idiot. I'm such an idiot. I don't even read what I pick up at the shop. So this is polyfiller quick drying, dries in 5 minutes, and it honks. It absolutely honks. It dries really well. It was fantastic on the first section. And I've still got some in here, but I'm not going to use it because, again, it reeks. And this stuff doesn't really smell at all. So it's just me. I'm an idiot. I'm incompetent. Toby, our Necromunda group are frothing at the mouth for it. Oof. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing some photos. I'm looking forward to seeing some photos and some miniatures on it and some games. I've had a few comments, actually. I've had a few people send me messages on Instagram saying that they're looking forward to coming to Hobby House to see it and hopefully play on it. So, yeah, fingers crossed I do it justice and you know, you guys enjoy it. What else do we have here? Glenn, sad chair emoji is worth the price of admission alone. Oh, I've got to stick that somewhere. I got to screenshot that, Glenn, and put that on my Instagram. There we go. Joke, sometimes I'm not a fan of full modularity. I would like to play on your vision of it. It's like why I would put more paint on a Picasso painting. I see. Well, thank you very much. I mean, again, like, I'm kind of treading new ground here to a certain extent because you all know that I do not play. So I don't know much about the gaming, but I am trying to make sure that we have that sort of immersion with sort of lines of sight and a decent bit of scenery, but again, like not like a diorama level of scenery, you know, so everything is in the way. It needs to be playable, basically. But I appreciate that, Joke. Thank you very much. Oh, that one was stuck down. Okay, let's do this last one. Then I'm gonna spoon on some polyfiller. It's gonna be like icing a cake. It was like icing a cake the first time around, so I feel like this is gonna be pretty similar. Oh, maybe I want one there. Stick a stone there, just for the sake of it. Toby, I've achieved a lot in my life, but I think christening the name Sad Chair is probably a crowning achievement, a crowning moment. I think so too, Toby. You have created the main meme for this channel, I think. The main inside joke was your doing, Toby. Foaming at the mouth, I hope that means they don't have rabies. Oh, that would make the sad chair event very interesting, wouldn't it? It'd be like the start of a zombie movie. Glenn, Nihilus only question. You can only listen to one artist's entire discography for the next month, but you can't skip any songs. Who are you choosing? Oh my god, that is a difficult question. That is a very difficult question. Music is a very, very important thing to me. I know this sounds super serious, and I'm sure it's important for a lot of people. But I've got lots of bands and artists that I like, and my kind of preference changes from week to week. But I think an artist that I could listen to a lot of for a long time would probably be the Deftones. I know to some of you that might be an interesting choice, because obviously a lot of my sort of interest is very, very heavy music. But I do have a big soft spot for the Deftones, and really, really enjoy their music. They have an album specifically called Koi no Yokan. I think it's pronounced Koi no Yokan. I absolutely love it. I could listen to it over and over and over again and just create, basically. So that would probably be the choice, I reckon. Some Deftones, specifically that album, I think, just over and over again on repeat. Joke, Wooden Chair King. Toby, I've played with Deftones before. One of the best live bands I've ever seen. I am well jealous, Toby. I am well jealous. Really, I got to their music quite late as well. So it's only probably, I reckon, since about 2019 that I was listening to Deftones. But just, you know, I've always been aware that they've been there, but it was really that album that sucked me into the music. And yeah, just fantastic. Just such an atmospheric album. It's got, I don't know, it does something to me. It does. Is it good? It's a damn good album. Let's make sure I don't get too much of this no more nails on the other one. Alright, cool. So I think it's polyfiller time. I just need to find a scraper for the polyfiller, and then we can start essentially icing the cake. What I will do though is I'm probably going to move sad chair out of the way for one. I'm going to move our Aquila Lander just because I don't really want to spill anything on it since it's already painted, and I can just sort of leave it to one side till we're ready to undercoat, basically, and then, you know, it can go back on at a later date. So let me just find a paint scraper and we will be good to go. Cool, this should do nicely. And again, like, if you're thinking of trying anything like this and using the sort of paper mache method, it is good, and don't be afraid if it takes a little while to dry. It's just because there's sort of, you know, a fair bit of water and PVA, but when it does, it dries rock hard. So again, you would be really hard pressed to make a dent in it. You know, you'd really have to like smash your fist into it when it's dry. Gloom Creature! Do you take the table outdoors to undercoat, or do you do it all in the studio? I've learnt from my mistakes, Gloom Creature. So part of the throne, actually the main part of the throne, way back, I undercoated it in the studio because I think I was doing that phase of it when it was raining quite a lot a few years back. Not good. You get dust, you get like paint dust everywhere. Obviously I'm masked up and everything like that, but it's not good for the lungs anyway. So these little pieces I take outside and I undercoat them out there. I still use a mask even when I'm outside, just because, you know, you want to keep your lungs intact. And yeah, you just kind of don't make any mess, because even though you wouldn't think that the little particles would cause any damage to anything else, they do get in the air and they land on things. So the throne, obviously lots of gold. I found gold dust kind of in different places in the studio, so never again. Or, you know, if you can avoid it, if you can avoid undercoating indoors, do it outside, basically. Unless you have crazy ventilation and all your gear. You're just less likely to damage yourself. Okay, polyfiller. The correct polyfiller this time, the non-smelly polyfiller. But what we're going to do is basically just kind of like icing a cake. And again, one of the things about this is you don't really need to be too precise, because once we give this a coat of PVA mixed in with sand, it kind of hides all the smear marks, and it gives it an extra sort of protective layer. So it shows you how bad I would be at icing a cake anyway. Let's just move this a little bit closer. Take another drink. But I will remember in future now that the other one I was buying dries in 5 minutes, which was kind of helpful actually, because it definitely sped the process up. But if I'm giving this a good 12 hours or what have you till I start working on it tomorrow, I'm sure it will be nice and dry. I've also used pretty much all of my craters. So I had these like crater sections, which you can see on the board, kicking around in my scenery box for a very long time. And I've actually got to use them now. I've got one more left, which I am saving for our Hive City Wall section. I think it's actually the biggest crater. I've got it right here. There we go. This one. The only thing I've noticed, I might have mentioned this before on stream, but basically I bought these second hand a long time ago, and whoever was painting them and trying to make something of them, they decided to fill in all the middle with PVA and paint. So before I stick these on the board, I have to go in with pliers and a craft knife and peel it all back and get rid of it. Otherwise, if I paint that, you're just going to see all this horrible, like, these brush strokes. So it does take a little bit of prep. I had to spend about 20 minutes peeling it off of these two earlier, but worth it. And it's nice just to have an excuse to use them, because otherwise they're just gathering dust in my collection. Michael, in terms of the terrain layout, did you have any sketches or diagrams to work off? Well, Michael, you might have just missed it. A few minutes ago I was kind of discussing how I usually have like a loose plan. I tend not to sketch anything out. I kind of have it all in my noggin, as it were. Pardon me. So yeah, I kind of have a loose idea, and then sometimes kind of things change, kind of, I don't know, naturally. Like some things don't work, so I end up replacing them with something else, basically. So we had the silo / landing pad, which I thought I had with me, which was going to go here, but it looked too busy. It looked like there was too much going on. So instead I replaced it with this kind of ruined manufactorum sort of section. So kind of, you know, in answer to your question, Michael, I don't really sketch it out. I just kind of work kind of fluidly, I suppose, and experiment, see what works, what doesn't, and change trajectory accordingly. Glenn, nihilist only question. Talking of icing a cake, do you rate carrot cake with cream cheese frosting out of 10? It's up there. It's definitely up there, Glenn. Absolutely. I would say probably an 8.5 for carrot cake. I feel like carrot cake has a very, or it gets a very Marmite reaction from people. So my partner absolutely hates carrot cake. She won't touch it. But I love it, and I would happily eat carrot cake like a few times a week. It's that good. Why, what's the general consensus on carrot cake, Glenn? What's your views on carrot cake? I feel like you're always asking me questions, Glenn. I don't get to ask you any. Maybe next stream I should provide some Glenn-only questions. It's funny actually, because this part of the project, this kind of polyfiller section, you would think doesn't really require too much in terms of like brain power, but you've got to concentrate a little bit actually. More than you would expect. Because what I don't want to do is cover over... Obviously I've got these rocks that I've stuck down earlier in the stream, and I don't want to submerge them too much. And I don't want to cover them all with polyfill, otherwise it loses the effect of the slate. And I don't want too many big blobs either, because it is harder to cover it over with the sand and PVA mixture. Do you know what? I'm thinking now, even though the other polyfiller was stinky, it was probably better, just because it started drying so quickly, and I think it possibly sped up the drying time for the paper mache. But yeah, once this goes on, I feel like it's going to start coming together a little bit more, just because it'll have a nice layer of white over the top of it. And then we just have to cross our fingers that tomorrow is going to be perfect undercoating weather. And then we really can push forward on Sunday with the rest of the build. Because at the rate we're going, I feel like this section probably won't take as long as section 1. And then can start laying down the framework for the Hive City walls. Which I do have, again, a loose idea for. And leaving it till last has certainly given me time to think about how I want to approach it. I've got various kits to use, basically, provided by Toby at Hobby House. And I've been thinking about sort of how best to use them. Because obviously we'll be combining a bunch of different kits. You know, we'll be combining our Zone Mortalis wall sections, we've got our Imperial Sector walls, we've got walkways, we've got, they're not specifically ramparts, but I've got bits from, what is it now? I think it's like the defensive line, something defensive line, Aegis defensive line possibly. And I'm going to use them as ramparts for our Hive City wall. So I've had lots of time to think about how it all goes together, but again it's a loose plan, so you know, it's subject to change. Glenn, carrot cake is carrot cake is S tier in my opinion. Carrot cake is good. Carrot cake is really good. Also, I would encourage you guys, if you do enjoy the streams, it always helps me to stick a like on the stream. Just because it tells YouTube that you are enjoying it, so YouTube will potentially recommend it to other people. So if you wouldn't mind doing that for me, that would be incredible. Further to that, if you want to help me even more, you can consider becoming a channel member. We've got quite a few channel members now, which is really nice. It's been awesome to see it gradually expand, you know, and see the little community that we've developed get a little bit bigger each time. The Discord has grown to 20 people now, I think. So yeah, it's a fantastic way of helping the channel and just helping me sort of do more of these. It allows me to spend more time live streaming and sharing what I'm working on. But either way, you all know you are 100% welcome to the stream. You're welcome to join Jock in the Grey Names. And yeah, all are welcome, basically. Look at that. It is like icing a cake, honestly. I just don't think I'd be a baker. I'm really kind of shit at it. But like I said, when you're doing anything like this, you've got to kind of trust the process, because it does look a little bit shit before it gets better. And once you start getting your texture on there in the form of sand and PVA, you don't notice any of this, basically, because it's all covered up. So have faith, because I know it probably looks like a right mess on the stream at the moment, but once it's dry tomorrow morning, we'll be ready to roll. Why does my chat keep disappearing? Joke, you can also boost the video, I think. Well, that would be appreciated too. I don't know whether they have the hype thing for live streams, because obviously I don't really watch any live streams on YouTube. But yeah, sort of interacting, basically, likes, comments, that kind of stuff really helps. And yeah, I do really appreciate it, because we've definitely come a long way from when I first started streaming, like last year, I think. I kind of temporarily streamed, and I was working on sort of smaller projects, smaller pieces of the Golden Throne in a different environment. But since I've started up again, obviously I've got internet down here in the studio, and we can kind of work on things properly live now, so we can work on bigger projects. I can show you what's going on here. Obviously we've got this monster in the background that still needs to be finished. But yeah, like the viewership has increased. I remember streaming to like 3 people, I think it was, at the time, so it's nice to have kind of like a regular sort of double digits of people tuning in to see how these projects go. And it just sort of means that in future, when we work on different elements, different projects, possibly for Hobby House, wink wink, yeah, you guys get to see it all come together in real time. Joke, after you put the stream on YouTube, we can boost... Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that, Joke. But yes, that would be very cool too. I know that streams don't usually get too many views after the fact. Like, when we do these videos, it's mainly when you guys are watching live, because I think, like, after the stream is over, they get maybe 90 or 100 views, so it's not crazy. But it all helps, you know. Let's get more over here. Probably should have started over here, because I feel like this paper mache section has dried a lot quicker than the other ones. So I think we'll start icing this part of the cake. I am excited about what the future holds for building these sorts of projects, because there are so many aspects of the 40k universe that we can explore in the form of terrain and scenery building. One of the things that I've wanted to do for a little while now, which we kind of touched on in the past, is I would love to do a sort of jungle themed project. Maybe find some files for some trees that could be printed off, because I feel like that has always been one of the things that has sort of held me back from attempting a project like that. Is in the past, before the sort of rise of 3D printing, trying to get decent looking trees has always been kind of difficult. But I feel like now, you know, with the right looking 3D trees, we could certainly make like an old Imperium complex in a jungle. We could make some like Xenos scenery in a jungle, and it just kind of mixes it up a little bit, because a lot of this stuff tends to be kind of wasteland-esque and desert-esque, so it would be nice to explore maybe an Imperial planet that's verdant, I want to say. I hope that's the right word, verdant and green and luscious. I'd like to try and do that at some point. Joke, we need to disturb the Valrak streams to push him to live bomb your stream so we can have a bigger audience by linking. I mean, that would be cool. That would be cool. I am partial to a Valrak video from time to time. Mainly the rumour mill. I do like hearing the rumour mill. Again, the problem is I get hyped at the rumour mill, but it's all stuff that there's no point in me getting because I'm not going to paint it. I've kind of like said that in the past now I've got such a big pile of shame that I'm not buying anything because I'm not painting it. Not because I don't love the miniatures, but my main sort of focus is terrain. So I don't have time to paint a unit of Horus Heresy Space Marines or a Necromunda gang as much as I would like to. I feel like that is one of the next things I do in terms of miniatures when I get some time to paint actual miniatures. I'd love to paint a Necromunda gang. Specifically, I got a bunch of corridor stuff kicking around, so that would be very cool. It would also be kind of in keeping with what we're doing in terms of the Necromundan Ash Wastes and potentially the sort of Hive City expansion if we get the sign off for the Hive City. Glenn, I'm excited for the future of this channel too. Please don't miss my ice cream versus cake. Oh, I did. Sorry, Glenn, I did nearly miss that. Let's see, if you could only have cake or ice cream for the rest of your life, would you choose cake or ice cream? Do you know what, Glenn? I would choose ice cream. Don't even need to think about that. I would choose ice cream all day, every day. Absolutely love cake, but ice cream is a weakness for me. Just because there's so many different flavors of ice cream, Gelato as well is crazy good. Sign me up. But yeah, I'm excited as well, Glenn. I am excited for the future of this channel and just the future of building big gaming boards and big pieces of scenery. And I am excited to get back to the throne because obviously I've got lots of new skills that I want to use on the throne room, and I want to get it done, I want to get it finished so it's not that it's looming particularly, but I've expended so much effort on it already. I want to do it justice and get it done and show you guys what it looks like, and then maybe move on to something that's equally as ambitious. Do you know what? I've just realised something. I am going to move that hab before it decides to try and fly. So let's get that. Let's move this out of the way. These habs are very, very cool though. I don't know how many of you guys have actually got them, but I have a few kits provided for this build by Hobby House, and they are really, really cool kits. I haven't opened the double hab yet, the double wide one, but they look really cool, and I like the way that they fit together. So I'm looking forward to getting them painted for this build. Joke! I'm trying to do so often, but I'm alone on asking it. Well, that's okay, Joke. The thing is, it is what it is. This is a really small channel, let's be fair. Like, in the grand scheme of things, you have people with, like, I don't know, up there near 50,000, near 100,000. We have 11,000, 11.8, I think. So yeah, relatively small channel, but it's fine because I've got you guys. That's the important thing, I got my regulars tuning in. Because the thing is, like, I've definitely said this to you all before, but the live streams are the way they are because of you guys. They wouldn't be the same if it was just me sat here talking to myself. It's nice to be able to share this stuff with you guys and sort of discuss the progression, discuss plans for the future, talk about events. Granted, we haven't done our first event yet, but it is it's inevitable at this point, as soon as this is done. So yeah, it's you guys who make the stream. It's not just me doing this. sure I don't miss any. But I love doing these. I do love doing these streams. Sometimes I feel like they are a better way for me to communicate what I'm doing and show you guys than actual videos. Just because I can kind of talk about things off the cuff. You know, you're seeing it progress in real time. That's not to say I won't be doing the videos, obviously. I nearly have all the footage I need for our first section, so I'm going to put something together for that. But I am starting to very much enjoy the live streaming element of sort of my Warhammer journey, as it were. Joke, I was there when Valorec was a small channel too in 2016 as a grey name. 2016, so he's come a long way in the past 10 years. That's what 10 years of YouTube gets you. Yeah, I mean, I suppose all channels as well are different. You know, I wouldn't be too upset, I guess, if I stayed being a relatively small Warhammer channel. Because I enjoy doing this, whether people are watching me or not, you know. And I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, this is my hobby, I love it, I love building things. But having the live streaming and having you guys to talk to does make it more interesting for me, you know. It's really nice to just talk to you guys about Warhammer stuff. Because you all know that I have about one friend who's into Warhammer, so I don't really have anyone that I can kind of just keep chatting to about Warhammer for hours on end. And that's where you guys come in. You can listen to me rant about Warhammer and ideas and stuff, and it's just nice, you know, it's nice to be here with you guys and just chill out for the evening. Alright, so we've nearly iced this portion of the cake. Just want to make sure that it's mostly smooth cake. And try not to cover the stones, as I said. But yeah, there's a little bit fiddly doing this. It is, just because you don't want any massive sort of ridges, basically. The sand will cover a bunch of sins, though, it really will. Glenn, Nihilist only question, will you remember any of your regulars when you have tens of thousands of viewers on your live stream? Absolutely. I don't think it'll get to that, to be fair. Like, I feel like this content that we do here, I don't like the word content, but you know, the kind of stuff that we do here is fairly niche, like for Warhammer. I feel like you know, scenery is a certain aspect of the hobby that is only going to attract a certain amount of people, because obviously people are into this for different reasons. There's people who primarily enjoy the gaming aspect, the lore aspect. So I can't ever really say that we're going to become a massive channel with like hundreds of viewers, but you know, doing this with you guys, hanging out, coming up with some pretty, hopefully pretty awesome builds, you know, I'm happy with that. I'm happy with doing that. Joke, I wish you the same, making a living enjoying what you do, in brackets, I like to break walls, that's why I'm in construction. Yeah, I mean, this obviously is not my main job. You know, I make a little bit off of YouTube, but it's not my main job. I dig holes for a living, but I would love to make this more of a job, you know? I would like to be able to create more videos, do more live streams, build bigger and better scenery projects, but it's going to be what it's going to be. If anything, you know, it's kind of at the hands of the viewership, I suppose, because one of the benefits to having more viewers is, you know, more of a revenue stream, I suppose, if I'm completely honest with you. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be what it's going to be. I'm still making the time to do this either way because I absolutely love it. Let's just make sure we haven't iced too much cake in certain parts here. But you know, in the past few months that we've been streaming, things have definitely improved in terms of viewership, in terms of membership. So there is always potential for it to get bigger. We just have to see what the algorithm is saying. We have to see what the algorithm gods are doing. Praise the Omnissiah, everyone. Okay. Apologies if I go a little bit quiet time to time. Just while I make sure these edges are nice and smooth. I'm not sure how long this stuff takes to dry. Let's see. Surface dry in 1 to 2. Okay, so I don't really need that super quick 5-minute dry stuff because 1 to 2 hours is not an extremely long time. So this stuff should be perfect for us to work on come tomorrow morning. I think tomorrow as well I'll provide some little updates for you guys in the Discord. Just how we're getting on during the day. Looking good. Oh, have I not got all messages? If Hobby House have a way to buy their stuff for you to use in your sceneries, I'm interested. Hobby House. I do have a link to Hobby House. My affiliate link is in the description for this video. Joke. And yeah, that all helps as well. Obviously, the thing is you can support the channel through some of the links I have in my description. It doesn't always have to be a membership. It doesn't always have to be Patreon. It can be just buying something through my affiliate links. It all helps. And all of my affiliate links are stuff that I use. So you're never going to find something in my video that I don't fully trust. So, for example, I have a link to Hobby House, who are fantastic, and I don't really need to say much more about Hobby House other than they're fantastic and they're very friendly and very helpful. I also have my Artis Opus brushes, the affiliate link. I was using them before I had an affiliate with them, so I really like their brushes. They're good quality, and they're based here in the UK as well, Artis Opus. And then finally, my fairly new affiliate link is for airbrushes. It's for Gaahleri Airbrushes, and I've been using my Gaahleri airbrush for this project as well. So yeah, never had a problem with it. I've had it for a couple of weeks. I've used it like every other day. Yeah, good airbrush. So all those links help. Gloom Creature, the Beastmen are finally built just in time for tomorrow. I'll put a photo of them in the Discord. Awesome, Gloom Creature. I will take a look after the stream. I will take a little gander. It's one of the things that I really enjoy doing now. I've got like a little routine now. So when we do our streams, after the stream has ended, I just take a little look. Before I chill out and go to bed, I have a little look on the Discord and see what you guys are working on. And it's just kind of nice to see. Like, it's nice to see while you guys are sat here listening to me do this, that you guys are working on your own stuff, and I get to see what it is that you're working on. So, gives me a little bit of inspiration as well, you know? So feel free to put things in the Discord. Okay. I'm going to spin them around a bit. Ooh, where am I? I'm actually going to use a little bit of polyfiller. So I cut this shipping container in half today, one of these Imperial shipping containers, just because I feel like in the ash waste you're going to have things that have like sunk into the sand and like bits and pieces that have been there for a very, very long time. So I want to make sure that when I come to put sand and PVA all around this, they really look as though they are sort of tied in. In fact, I'm going to be a bit of a criminal here, and I'm going to use my finger to dab some of this polyfiller around. Just because, yeah, so it looks like it's kind of been there for years and years and years. I think when we come to paint these shipping containers, we'll probably quite heavily rust them. Just so you don't get the impression it was dropped there yesterday. Joke, I finally unsprued some minis. Well done, Joke. I mean, anything, if you're watching this and you just do like the bare minimum, clip one thing off the sprue, it's still an accomplishment, and it's one less thing to do during the next like hobby session. Gloom Creature, one of them is unfortunately in that awful barely painted stage. Want to get him base coated before using him on the tabletop. Well, depending on what it's like by you, Gloom, it might be kind of mild enough just to stick a coat on outside if you have if you have access. If you have a little area outside you could spray some stuff on. I tend, when, from time to time when I'm working on individual miniatures, I just stick everything to a bit of cardboard, and then you could just kind of hang it out the window. As long as the wind isn't blowing in your face, it should be alright. Gloom Creature, haven't been following your progress this stream too much, but it's looking solid. Oh, thank you, Gloom Creature. That's the thing, obviously you guys don't have to just stay here for the whole stream. Like, this stream is just going to be going for a few hours, and you guys are more than welcome to sort of pop in, pop back, just stop by and say hello. It's always, dropping it. It's always going on here on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sunday evenings. Ooh, that bit's not gonna, yeah, of course, it's not gonna play ball. We'll get that after the stream. Yeah, okay, alright, I'm gonna spin this around. Try not to knock my drink off the side. The best thing about working on projects like this is it doesn't feel like a factory line in any sort of way. Everything you're doing, even if it's for sort of one, big overall gaming table like this one, I feel like there's so much variation in terms of what needs to be done that every time I'm doing something, it feels sort of new and fresh and different, which is really, really nice because it keeps that level of engagement for me, and it just makes me want to see it done, basically. Still haven't bought any paint yet, says Choke. Oh, you need a bit of paint, Choke. You can do quite a lot with a sort of minimal palette as well. You don't need loads and loads of paints. You can always just like start with a couple, because you can also make them lighter and darker with black and white. I know that's probably a given. Forgive me if I'm babying any of you there, but obviously quite a lot can be achieved with just a few paints. And then when you want to expand your range, you can. I ended up a few years ago, I got loads of them now. I don't know how many of them are dried up. I might need to check soon. But a few years ago, before Nurgle's Plague, I bought someone's old collection. They had a bunch of paints. I think it was about 100 paints. And I sold a few of the miniatures just because they were sort of armies that I didn't really want to collect. But I ended up keeping all the Space Marines and keeping all the paints. And I've got quite a lot of colours now, but I feel like some of them barely get touched, you know, because there's so many different shades of grey. Shades of red get used quite a lot, but I feel like shades of grey, probably some of the blues, and I haven't found a good reason to use the pink at the moment, which is a really nice shade of pink. I think it's Pink Horror. Can't really read it from here, but yeah, there is a bunch of paints that don't get used, so essentially there's nothing wrong with just having more of a minimal selection. I don't know if you can hear sad chair squeaking. Listen to that. Sounds like a creaky old ship. One thing I'm definitely going to need, though, I don't know whether I should pick it up tomorrow or not. I'm going to need to get some camo shade for this second section, because the first section probably used a tub of camo shade, the wash, and it was the old one as well. Believe it or not, I still have some shades from the old bottle size when they were bigger than they are now. Obviously, shrinkflation always seems to be a thing now. They'll give you less of what you need, but the price will remain the same, if not become slightly more expensive. But I've used my last bit of that now, and I think I'm going to need a new one, especially when we start shading around the craters. She's suffering from all that sitting. I'm heavy. It's all the carrot cake and ice cream I've been eating. That's the problem. And I'm getting hungry just thinking about cake now, since I'm icing one, essentially. Maybe I should have bought some cake tools instead of this palette knife. Might have been easier for me to apply the polyfiller to the build. But if we end up doing a sort of interior, pardon me, voice cracking then. If we end up doing an interior to our Hive City, I am going to need to come up with an idea for it, because we are going to have these ash wastes and then a huge wall, and I feel like we are going to need to sort of adjust our Hive City inners accordingly. So I'm going to have to take a look at some different Hive builds or some Zone Mortalis builds and see what other people have done with their scenery. Because I've got a whole bunch of kits, obviously. I'm not sure what kits to use, but I want to see the methods in which other people have sort of built up their kits. Because I do like having the element of verticality with projects, so the Hive wall is going to make this stuff look tiny. But obviously we're going to want our city to maybe not be the same height as the Hive wall, but you know, you're going to want some verticality basically. I've also been having a little bit of a think about colour schemes for the Hive walls, because you think that that's going to be the element of the Hive, or one of the elements of the Hive, that is just taking lots and lots of damage all the time. You know, it's getting blasted, it's getting silica blasted. Just realised how bad that sounded. It's getting blasted. Yeah, it's basically just taking sort of all the elements from Necromunda, day in, day out. So I'm thinking of a very sort of weathered exterior, but not just pure rust. So I'm thinking of like maybe a slightly metallic blackened effect with a little bit of brown in there, just to kind of reflect a little bit of the age. Because clearly whatever the Hive walls are built out of, they are very, very tough. because the hive has been standing for God knows how long, and it's still standing. So the walls are going to have to reflect that like lifetime of, well, more than a lifetime, you know, the eons of damage, basically. So yeah, I think like a kind of blackened exterior wall, and then as we get inside the hive, we can make things a little bit more colourful and a little bit more rusted as well. It's exciting though. It is very, very exciting. And hopefully, with Necromunda moving forward with a new sort of iteration, we get some more terrain, because I love the Necromunda stuff. Like, the regulars here will know that I really, really enjoy Necromunda in terms of like what the team creates. So the scenery for Necromunda is fantastic. You know, they've got their pipes that came out recently. I need to get some pipes. I need to find a reason to paint some of those pipes. But I would like to see some more scenery, basically. I feel like you can't really go wrong with Necromunda scenery. We got the ruined hive, not the ruined hive, the ruined zone mortalis as well, which is really, really cool. I've got 2 boxes of that ready to go. I just need to find the right reason to use it. Michael, do you think there would be shanty scrap buildings up against the hive wall? Instead of it being a stark vertical wall, it could blend into the ash waste a bit better. That is a very interesting thought, Michael. That is a very interesting thought. There might be. Again, the reason I might lean towards no slightly is because of the effects of living in the ash waste, like the sort of silica storms, because they are said to just like tear people apart, tear things apart. And I feel like with the nomads and their sort of habs, they've kind of adapted to living in that environment. So I'm not sure whether you would have your hive dwellers, or many hive dwellers, being able to sort of withstand that. You might have a few that have like burrowed really deep, and they've kind of maybe found some old areas outside of the wall to reside in. So it is a possibility. It could certainly look very cool. My thoughts behind sort of what I intend to do with the hive wall is it's not just going to be the sort of stark, shooting up into the stratosphere wall. What I want to do is use some, probably some foam board or some polystyrene board, and I want to kind of build up to the wall, if that makes sense. So if you look at the artwork for sort of hive cities and stuff, they kind of have that almost curvature as they go up, and I want to kind of represent that with sand leading up to the wall, so it looks like just over the decades or hundreds and hundreds of years, the sand has kind of like worked its way up the wall that's made this kind of curve, just so it doesn't look like, oh, hive wall out of nowhere, you know. It kind of looks like it feeds into the ash wastes. But you have given me food for thought with that, Michael, to be fair, in terms of like maybe like squatters and stuff burrowing into the ground and making like little sort of shanties around it. So I'll have a little think about that, actually, because it might be something I could do something with. That's the thing, there's always so many ideas, and that's why I like streaming while I'm talking about the projects, because you guys come up with some really interesting ideas that I just hasn't crossed my mind, because it just wouldn't have crossed my mind to think of that, but it is a very, very cool sort of idea. One of my earlier thoughts was to kind of use some of the Space Hulk scenery from the Kill Team boxes, and maybe have that as like a sort of sub-layer of the Hive City walls. But I think I ended up sort of opting against that, and just kind of going for the kind of sand effect, the aforementioned sand effect. But, you know, as we all know by now, when it comes to plans for these sort of projects, it's always a loose plan that I can change depending on what works and what doesn't. So when we get to that section, we'll see what the God Emperor wills. Frag-eye, for me the shanty towns would form under the bridge. See, that's a possibility as well, but again, as cool as they are, what I'm trying to do is temper the amount of detail that we have, because obviously if I didn't have to, if I didn't have to provide these as a table for Hobby House, I'd probably just go crazy and spend years adding details, but we need to be reasonable. So we need to kind of draw a little bit of a line in the sand of how much detail we intend to put on. And I think so far we're reaching a sort of healthy amount, which is somewhere in between, a nice diorama and a gaming board. But just because I don't necessarily apply something that you guys suggest as an idea, it doesn't mean that I don't find it interesting and that it won't be applied in like future builds, basically. So ideas are always welcome on the stream here. Always welcome. So you can see that some of these buildings, so some of the ruins, I've built up the paper mache around them, and again that's kind of to reflect what I will do with the Hive City walls, which is have like piles of sand that have accumulated over the years and that are slowly absorbing the terrain back into the natural environment, if you can call it that, on Necromunda. I'd say it's pretty unnatural environment on Necromunda. Lots of toxins. I don't think anyone would survive long in the ash waste, basically. Okay, I'm going to have to commit a crime again and use my finger for this. Sometimes, just because of the angles, the polyfiller really doesn't want to play ball, so I just have to kind of dab it in with my finger, as unprofessional as this looks on stream. There we go. Cool. Get a drink. But yeah, I'm hoping that by the time Sunday evening rolls around and we are streaming again, I'm hoping that it's going to look quite, vastly different to what you guys see this evening. So hopefully this will be the last time that you guys see the project looking the way that it is looking at the moment. I feel like this is always quite a quick phase. I feel like when we were working on section 1, it didn't look like this for too long before we started sort of getting the paint on it and getting our details down. So yeah, this will be the one and only time you see the project looking like this. Criminal fingers, that's a joke. You gotta do what you gotta do on stream, you know? If it works, it works. Sometimes the tools don't do what they're supposed to, so you gotta get the fingers involved. I feel like that's an awful clip right there. At some stage as well, we're probably going to have to start working on the habs independently. So kind of similar to the crashed Aquila lander, I like to work on some bits and pieces without gluing them down first, just because it enables me to get the right amount of detail. And having learnt some things from the Golden Throne, I've learnt a fair bit actually from working on the Golden Throne, is don't glue everything down straight away. Maybe paint things before you glue them down, because some elements of the Golden Throne are going to be a pain in the ass to get painted, just because I glued them down first, and some of them are going to be a little bit fiddly. So yeah, I figured for this build, we'll paint some of the more detailed elements before sticking it down. And so far, it's doing us well. A lot of the individual parts that you'll see on section 1, such as our barricades, our bridges, those were all painted independently and then stuck down after. And I feel like it's made all the difference, especially with the sort of ramshackle bridges. They look much better because you can see there is like a certain attention to detail. And it's alright for like bigger elements, so the ruined manufactorum and some of the shipping containers that you see. It's not so bad when they're kind of supposed to tie into the environment, because they'll be mainly like browns and they'll be rusted, browns, oranges, that sort of thing. So that is much easier to paint when something is already affixed to the diorama. But when you have newer elements, so things that you'd find in the ash waste that maybe haven't been there as long, you want them to have like transfers, you want them to have different tones, you want them to have a little bit more detail basically, and it's way easier doing that before sticking it down. But yeah, you know, learned that the hard way, but at least I've learned it now. So it's definitely looking better than when we started. I feel like the picture that I've used for the thumbnail of this stream was, I blurred it out because, you know, there's the intrigue, isn't there? But it definitely looked a bit all over the place. It looked like the kind of table that you'd set up if you were, you know, if you had your friend around and you were just playing on the kitchen table with whatever you could find. So like bits of tissue paper, like bits of unpainted scenery from your pile of shame. But now, well, now it's looking more like a cake, but I feel like that's better than what it was looking like. You'll also notice that where I'm working now, this area, I kind of done some smaller patches, like I worked in some smaller paper mache patches, and that's because I wanted to give the effect that the crashed Aquila lander has kind of skidded and torn up the ash wastes. And again, we'll kind of reflect that in the paint job too. So once we got all our base coats down, I'll probably come back in with some blacks, well, a black, and some darker colours, and kind of give the impression of like scorch marks where the lander has fallen out of the sky and slid across the ash wastes. Joke, gotta go, gentlemen. Tomorrow, hopefully, I will finish varnish the wooden floor of my kid's room. See you on the next one. Thank you for dropping by, Joke. It's been good to have you. Best of luck with the floor. Just pretend it's a Warhammer miniature and you'll enjoy it more. I'll see you in the next one, buddy. Of course the background music would stop then. There's just awkward silence. There we go. Sometimes you get like a really nice, smooth sort of effect with this palette knife, and then other times, I don't know, it's probably just the nut behind the wheel. But I feel like the more I do this, the better I'm probably going to get at it. I definitely referred to this in the description as like the ugly phase, because I feel like every board goes through this stage where you kind of ask yourself, what are you doing? Because essentially I'm just covering paper mache and polyfiller and hoping for the best. It's like the wait and see stage. The only reason I'm so confident about it is because, having already done it with the first portion of the ash wastes, I know what it eventually ends up looking like, and I'm happy with it. So I do know that hopefully by the end of tomorrow, all this polyfiller is going to look like a nice, well, not nice, but it's going to look like a toxic desert. Gloom Creature, how many cans of Munitorum varnish is that going to be? See you, Jock. Oh god, I don't think he could trust using Munitorum varnish, Gloom Creature. Did you hear my rant about that previously? I don't know if it was this week or last week, but I was kind of complaining about Munitorum varnish because I had a really bad sort of a bad hobby session a few months ago with Munitorum varnish, and it really pissed me off because the stuff is already very temperamental. You've got to make sure that the weather conditions are not too hot, not too cold. You've got to shake the can for 5 minutes. You've got to sometimes put the can in warm water, I find works. But sometimes it just does not want to play ball. So basically, I painted up these they weren't shipping containers, they were kind of like the smaller containers that you get, like the scatter scenery for Warhammer. And I painted them up and I put a bunch of transfers on them and they were looking alright. They were, you know, I was happy with them. And then I applied some Munitorum varnish and I shook the can. You know, I shook the can. I figured like maybe the temperature was slightly too hot, but it missed it up every time. And even when I left it alone for a while and then, you know, shook the can, left it in warm water, yada yada yada, the effect just wouldn't go. So eventually I had to just kind of make it work and kind of grubby up the containers a bit more and make them look a bit more dilapidated. Yeah, and basically it really put me off, so I don't use Munitorum varnish anymore. The way I would varnish, especially if you're varnishing anything that you are happy with and you've enjoyed painting, just do it through an airbrush with a bit of thinner. Just get some varnish, mix it in with your thinner, and do a couple of light coats of that, because Munitorum varnish could potentially mess up your whole paint job, and I tell you from experience, it's not fun. You know, it really took the wind out of my sails, that one did. Yeah, I don't trust the risk of that messing up my models. It's just not, you know, it's not a fantastic product, unfortunately. It's too unreliable. So, you know, for any of you out there considering using it, beware, basically. Because there are other methods, and I think the problem is, like, sometimes, this might just be the case for me, sometimes I just kind of rely on one method, and the thing is, I think because for such a long time I hadn't really had too many run-ins with Munitorum varnish, so I kind of just kept persisting with it. But there are much better ways, basically. There are much better ways. So I would recommend trying them. I think one sort of run-in that I had with it to begin with that I never really talked about, I might have mentioned it in one of my Golden Throne videos, but when I was working on the floor of the Golden Throne, you know, I added all my transfers to that, and I applied some Munitorum varnish, and it did start misting. Luckily I was able to correct it. I'm not really sure how I was able to correct it. I think it might have been the warm water method that I was on about, but after then I really should have said, like, okay, I've got to find a different method for varnishing, but unfortunately I didn't. I stuck with it, and then that landed me in the situation that I was in. I'm getting by with brush on Storm Shield. See, Storm Shield is okay, Gloom. It is okay, but the thing is, if it's too thick, you can see the brush marks, I find. So I always kind of worry a little bit. But if you're having success with it, just stay with it. Absolutely stay with it. The only reason I kind of say the airbrush is because you don't leave any brush marks, and you can just build up a few light coats on it. So maybe at some stage, if you're tempted, it might be worth trying. But if you do have a method you're happy with, just keep at it, because there's nothing worse than spending hours painting a miniature and then being like, uh-oh, how am I going to varnish this without ruining, you know, 7 hours of work? Luckily for my shipping containers, it wasn't 7 hours of work, but it was still enough time to make me pissed off. I'm only painting miniatures, not scenery. Yeah, it's probably easier with, you know, for certain areas where you've just applied the transfer to use a little brush, because if you don't need to coat the whole miniature, you're not really going to see much. But large flat surfaces, so as you say, especially scenery, it sucks. It sucks to paint it with a brush. I couldn't go back to it now, especially with, like, yeah, these bigger shipping containers and then other wider, flatter areas. So I think we've nearly iced the whole cake now. I think there's a little bit more to do. And then we're just going to have to let this dry. And I guess I'll come back and see what it's like tomorrow. And I might have missed a few patches, and the thing is, if that is the case, it doesn't really matter too much, because I could just maybe start off the hobby session tomorrow morning by covering them up. I'm gonna get my coffee, and by the time I'm back, it should be nice and dry. But yeah, again, I find that using my finger as a tool works pretty successfully time to time. Gloom Creature, one of these days I will get an airbrush, but I have very limited space for painting. Completely understandable, Gloom Creature. Completely understandable. Because it does take up space, especially when you've got the compressor and everything. But if you can sort of rig up a system where you can tuck it away, it's definitely a useful tool. Obviously, I'm very lucky here in the studio because I have space to sort of keep an airbrush and everything. But yeah, I appreciate that some of you've got a little bit less space to work with, so you have to kind of make it work or not, basically. It does speed things up though, so if you can come up with a way of like hiding your compressor and maybe getting a little spray booth, it does speed up like painting, especially painting rank and file if you're doing that. Alright, so I have missed a bit. I've missed a little bit here. I couldn't believe earlier though, I couldn't believe using the like potent stuff. Because polyfiller, you know when you know something isn't right? You've got a gut feeling and you ignore that gut feeling. That is exactly what I done. Because during construction of the first section, I definitely knew there was something wrong with the polyfiller. I'm like, polyfiller should not stink like that. This smells like chemicals. And I kind of ignored it, and only looking at it now, look, it's the mega stuff, 5-minute dry, that's why it stinks of chemicals. So, when we come to do our sand tomorrow, I am going to make everything else look a little bit messy, because for now, it kind of looks like everything is a bit of a separate element, but once this layer goes on with the, well, it's 2 layers actually, with the PVA and the sand, this will tie everything in and you won't be able to see any of the sort of gaps or any of the joining areas. And it'll make it look more like a toxic desert. It will be nice to move on to some city elements though. I am very much looking forward to working on some Hive City elements, just because there's going to be a lot more in terms of transfers. There's going to be a lot more in terms of weathering. And I think I'm just going to have a bit of a blast with it. Gloom Creature, yeah, my mate got an airbrush in a couple of days. He had base coated his pile of shame. That's just one of the benefits. It really is. Again, like, I can't go back to working without an airbrush now, Gloom. I really can't. It just enables me to do this a lot quicker. And I think for things like the bridge that we painted a while ago now, if I was to do that with a brush, it would take absolutely ages, and it wouldn't enable me to get the right effect. The airbrush kind of makes it look a bit more natural. So can't go without it now. You'll see it a lot more moving forward, Gloom. Okay, so I think we're nearly there. What's the time even? Oh my god, it's 10:15. This is what I mean, and I say this pretty much every stream, but when I'm sat here with you guys, time flies. It doesn't feel like I've been sat here for two and a quarter hours. Right, so I think we'll do a little check, make sure we've got everything. Oh, I also need to do some skulls. That's something I nearly forgot about. Is I like to add a few skulls, obviously. I feel like a Warhammer board wouldn't be a Warhammer board without some skulls. So I've got a load of them, and I just need to base coat them. What I tend to do is, if I'm not doing like a crazy detailed diorama, is just base coat in some contrast skeleton horde, because that usually tends to do all the work for you. And then like a light oil wash on top of it, and then boom, wherever you want it. So I think we're going to need to do a few of them for the build. Though I do wish Games Workshop would make some skeletons. Like, does any of you think that it's something that's missing? You know, why is it that on the battlefield you just have skulls? Surely there would be actual casualties as well. So, can we get some plastic skeletons, maybe? Or some plastic casualties from different factions? I feel like that could look quite cool. Especially guard ones. I feel like guard ones would look really good. I know that they came up with the Battlefields trophy box recently. Fairly recently. This or last year, I want to say. That's really cool. But I feel like we need more stuff like that. I want to see more terrain from Games Workshop, and I want to see more, like, I don't know what you'd call them. Like basing enhancements, maybe? Because I know that there's like a new bunker system or something coming for 40k. Because Warhammer Community last week, they showed off some of the new orc stuff. And behind the orcs, you know, it was obviously put in the picture for us to see, clear as day, but they have this really nice kind of hexagon-shaped bunker, Imperial bunker. So there is some new scenery coming for 40k, but I just want to see more. If you haven't gathered, you're watching a scenery channel. Okay. Oh, I missed a bit there. Yeah, it's definitely like my favorite element of 40k is the battlefields and the scenery. So I feel like if Games Workshop lent into it a little bit more, that would be fantastic. I know we got the 3D printed set, so I was a little bit worried about that to begin with, having pre-painted 3D, well obviously 3D, but pre-painted scenery. My fears were alleviated slightly when I found out that you can actually get the set unpainted, and the unpainted version is the same high quality as the other plastics. So if you're not into pre-painted terrain, you can buy the exact same terrain unpainted, and it's smoother, so you don't have those little ridges that you see in the painted versions. And obviously I know there is a market for the painted stuff, because if you are here playing the game and you don't really have time to make scenery, or you're kind of more involved in like just painting your armies, I suppose it does help to have like scenery you can just assemble out of the box and then you're ready to go. But for me, it feels like the ultimate crime, just because I love building, you know, building Warhammer battlefields and scenery and terrain. Gloom Creature, you can get a lot of storytelling done with the skulls from that Skulls Trophies box. I need to get it. I need to get it, Gloom. I got a bunch of the individual skulls from the Skulls box, but the trophy one has some more characterful skulls and like faction-specific ones as well. So I feel like it could help tell some stories. Very satisfying when it's nice and smooth. It's very, very satisfying. Though I've used a fair bit of a pot of polyfiller. Used a fair bit, more than I was expecting to use. Cool. I think that's pretty much it, if I'm honest. I think we've got to where we need to be, because I don't need to keep heaping this on, I think. Otherwise, it'd just be a little bit overkill. Although I said that, as soon as I said that, I'm like, I missed a bit. So maybe let's just get that last little bit. And then I think that's going to be it for tonight's stream. But we have... we've achieved everything that I wanted to achieve tonight, which is really, really good. So I'm very happy with that. I used to worry when I started these streams about doing things while I am live and actually achieving the goals that I set for myself. But as we've continued to do them, it has become increasingly easier to accomplish. And it's also just been very enjoyable, just kind of like chatting about things as I'm doing it. Maybe it's just being able to sort of learn how to multitask maybe and work on and talk about different things at the same time. But it's very enjoyable. Okay, I think I'm going to need to use the finger for this last bit though. This stuff can become a little bit of a menace though, because this area obviously I stuck on a few minutes ago, and because it's starting to dry, when you try and dab layers on top of it, it just kind of peels the bottom layer off, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. But we will persist. And like I say, it doesn't matter too much about the texture. Obviously it's nicer to have it a little bit smoother, but 2 or 3 coats of PVA glue and sand are going to cover up any of these sins. So it's not going to look like a freshly iced cake by the time they've been put on it. Cool. Alright. I think that's it, guys. I think we have about reached it for tonight's stream. But yeah, so this is what we're looking like at the moment. I'll do a little bit of a debrief, I think, before we call it a night. I'll put some of the other pieces back on the board so we can get a little bit of an idea after I put away my polyfiller. You can probably hear my stomach rumbling though. Okay, so let's just put this away. Where's my lid? And we will take a little look. We will reintroduce the Hab, and we will reintroduce the Crashed Aquila Lander, and we will take a look. I've managed to get polyfiller on my shirt as well. Cool, messy pup. Right, so let's get our pieces back. There. Again, it is kind of subject to change. Mainly, so what you see now is going to stay the same, basically. This is going to stay the same. But in terms of sort of reintroducing some habs, because this area is supposed to be our ash waste nomad sort of encampment, and I haven't really finalized where I want to put the habs. So I think what I roughly mocked up was just using these two, this sort of one hab and then the sort of, I'm not really sure what you call this. Did I use that or did I use the other hab? Anyway, what I want to do is I've got a double hab that I want to use, so I think maybe I might have one in the ruined manufactorum maybe, and we'll just kind of build around, because the idea was always to kind of build an ash waste nomad base around some existing architecture that's been sat in the ash waste for a long time. So that might be subject to change, but in terms of everything else, that's kind of how we're going to look moving forward. Sorry. Every time I keep looking at it now, I keep seeing a bit that's been missed. So, yet again, using the finger to sort that out. But, oh, thy orange banana! Thy orange banana, how are you doing? Just got back in from drinks after training. Hope everything is going well. It is thy orange banana. I was just kind of doing the roundup actually for tonight's stream. Just kind of talking about how the second section is kind of subject to a little bit of change. So tonight, just to quickly catch you up before we call it an evening, thy orange banana, is obviously been working on the second section of our ash wastes territory. I've been applying some paper mache, some scenery bits. We've just covered it with polyfiller, and we're going to wait for that to dry. So tomorrow morning we can do a little bit of painting. And yeah, so some of the elements that might change are, well, probably will change to be fair, is the placement of the habs, because I don't know, I haven't really figured out where I want them to be yet, so you might see them somewhere else on the board. But other than that, it's probably gonna stay the way it is now, and eventually start looking like our first section. Will you paint the hab interior? Gloom creature, good question. I will. I have a bunch of unassembled habs. I have a few that have already been built, and obviously we have access to the inside, so I am going to paint the inside of them. Again, it's probably not going to be a crazy amount of detail. I think we'll do some very basic details, just because we could end up spending a long time picking out everything. But to kind of like add a little bit more detail on top of that, we're going to do, where are they? I think I have them to hand here, if you bear with me. Oop. I'm not sure whether I've shown these on stream before, but I will show them now, because these are very, very cool. They came with one of the Kill Team sets. I always get it wrong. It's like Hive, is it Volcus, maybe? But basically you have like, let's see if I can get them up to the camera. You have like little mines and radios and gribbly bits. And then here we've got some really cool, if it doesn't fall out of my hand, like barbed wire and stuff. So obviously we're not going to use the barbed wire in the habs, but I'm thinking of using like the little weapon piles in the habs, just to kind of tell a bit more of a story and add some extra details. But yeah, we're not going to go crazy. The Orange Banana, good to hear. Glad I hold. Glad you made it just about. You did. You've made the closing minutes Die Orange Banana, but it's very good to have you on stream anyway. You can help me out though, Die Orange Banana. You can stick a like on the stream because it helps push it out there a little bit more. What else we got? Looks like some good stuff you've done tonight. Sorry I missed everything. That's okay, Die Orange Banana, it's not a problem. These streams, as I've said earlier tonight, are always here for you guys just to drop in, drop out of, just as a little hangout. So no problem at all. I know everyone else has stuff going on. I don't expect everyone to be here all the time, but it is nice when you guys can make it. So yeah, I think, guys, I'm going to bring it to a close for tonight because it is 10:30 now. And we've got everything done that we needed to. So we just need to let this dry. I need to get some sand and little stones and stuff on it tomorrow. And then we need to start painting. So yeah, thank you for joining me this evening, everyone. Again, if you like what you see, you can support the channel by becoming a member or clicking on any of the links below. Other than that, liking the video, sharing the video, all that kind of stuff really helps too. But yeah, enjoy your weekend, guys. It's Friday, so we've got the whole weekend ahead of us, and I'll see you guys on Sunday. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me this evening, guys. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.